Hello everyone, welcome to the team news ahead of Gameweek 10. My name is Az and I'm joined by the king of team news himself, Mr. Neale Rigg, with a nice looking beard today.
Oh, thanks. It's that's very kindly to say, given that it looks absolutely pathetic. Like kind of bum fluff a 17-year-old would sport.
I can't talk.
But it's sadly it's not certainly not done for stylistic purposes. It's the combined pressures of the job and parenthood leaves you with little time to shave. When you get any free time, you just want to sit down and stare at a wall with a cup of tea.
Yeah, shaving's overrated. That's what I heard. Anyway, we've got loads to talk about today. Obviously, the big news is in the title, which is a certain Serbian striker. Everyone's wanting to know what to do with him. We'll get onto that in just a bit. But let's start, as we always do, right at the top, which is the first game of the week, which is Bournemouth versus Leicester. What is happening with the home team, Neil?
Do you know what? I forgot you were going to start there. Haven't done it in hierarchical order in the past. Yeah, Bournemouth. They were up yesterday. Gary O'Neill still in charge, caretaker control. Lloyd Kelly's still out. He's the main one. He's the club captain. He's still sidelined. Stanislas as well looks like he's going to miss out. But Rothwell, Pearson and Fredericks all back in training and possibly in contention this weekend.
You know we did it like this all of last year, right?
I know we did. I don't know why I suddenly thought we'd go with the most important news first.
Yeah, no, that's not how clickbait works. Yeah, we've got to keep people right until
yeah.
Unless they were first hierarchically, then it would have ruined the whole video. Leicester next.
Yeah, pretty quiet. Indeed, he's out with a minor hamstring strain. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Pappy Mendy, who's a possible deputy for him, is also got a knee problem, and he's going to be struggling to make this one. So probably Soumare comes in for this. But otherwise, I think just the long-term ones, Pereira and Bertrand.
Does that dent clean sheet prospects a bit? Because they were little right against Forest, Leicester.
I don't think so. Indeed, he hasn't been that good, to be honest, this season. I think he's struggled to sort of reclaim the... I mean, for quite some time, he hasn't been the player we saw maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. I don't think the clean sheet prospects are particularly hinging on him being fit. I think, yes, he offers a bit more protection than Soumare because he's more of a... I think Rodgers has said in the past that Soumare is more of sort of ball progressor type central midfielder. But to be honest, I think they were quite lucky to keep a clean sheet against Forest, someone as bad as Forest.
Yeah.
So I think they're still going to struggle after this game against the team's worst attack.
What about Daka Vivardi? Any insights into who might start front?
Not particularly. I mean, I sense he'll stick with Vardy again. I think given that it's been a week or 5-6 days recovery period from the Monday night game. In fact, it is a week because I think it's another. Is it another Monday game? Or is it Sunday? Anyway, Daka probably merits a start on form, but we know how much. I said this last week. I know how much Rodgers loves Vardy. He will manage his minutes as he has done already this season, and there's a 3-game week coming up in which Daka will get at least one start. But maybe for this one, he'll stick with the same 11 that started against Forest with Soumare coming in for Ndidi.
Yep, cool. Next game, we move over to Chelsea versus Wolves. Oh, we're getting to Wolves in just a second. It's a few more things to be concerned about if you're a Wolves fan. But how about the home side, Chelsea?
Pretty good. I mean, positive in relative sense. So Fofana's knee injury isn't as bad as what they thought. It looked awful when it came off. I think he was on crutches after the game. But he is only out for weeks, according to Potter, and he's hopeful that he'll be back before the World Cup, which is thinking about, 5 weeks' time? It's the last game week. So we could even see him before then. So that's good news. Kante is integrating into team training as well, but not quite ready to feature this weekend. I think match fitness still a problem. They're being careful with him as well, given that he's got a history of recurrences with injury. Good news for Cucurella as well. He's back. He was on the bench against Milan, but Potter says he's now fully recovered and will be involved tomorrow.
There you go. Not so good news for the team from the Midlands, though.
No, and what a disastrous buy Neto has been for FPL managers. Not only has he blanked, I think, in every appearance this season, but he's now, if anyone's still got him, he's now out until after the World Cup. So he's got an ankle injury sustained last weekend against West Ham. Strained the lateral ligaments, according to Steve Davis, not the snooker player, the interim Wolves boss. And he's going to go undergo surgery, so he's not going to be out. He's not going to be fit till game week 17 at the earliest. So on top of that, Jimenez, of course, we think still out. Chiquinho, Kalajic as well. Neves is suspended. 1 match ban for collecting 5 yellow cards. Collins is still banned as well for that straight red card he got against Man City. So they have got one possible returner, and that is Huang Hee-chan, who's back in training. Might not even trouble the starting 11, hasn't been lately. And of course, it's a question of how fit Costa is, because he did come on and look decent last weekend, I thought. But again, he hasn't played, I don't think, any competitive football this calendar year until that point. And it would be a stretch for him to start against Chelsea, given that they'll be doing, I guess, a lot of off-the-ball chasing against a Potter team. So I wonder if he's going to be held back again and just introduced from the bench for now.
So who starts at centre-back then with Kilman?
Well, Davis was suggesting it's going to be one of Totti or Mosquera, who Bruno Lager didn't trust last weekend. He went with a 3-man backline of Johnny, who's a fullback, Kilman, who's their one fit centre-back, senior centre-back, and Ruben Neves played at centre-half last weekend and is now suspended. So that's another option down at centre-half. So I think Davis is implying that one of those two, the youngsters, is going to be playing alongside Kilman for this. Whether that's as part of a 3 with Johnny or a 2-man centre-half partnership remains to be seen, but looks like a rookie coming in for a tricky trip to Stamford Bridge.
Ooh, good news for Chelsea owners, Aubameyang, new investors, and Sterling, and even Reece James. City next, playing Southampton, and another popular FPL pick is down. Is he popular?
Yes, Kyle Walker, I'm guessing you.
Yeah. Is he popular?
I had to meet you halfway there. Yeah. Pep's reiterating what was said during the week. It's a groin. I think it's a groin injury. I think he's had surgery, Kyle Walker, and Pep would just say the same thing as he did on Tuesday, which was he's going to be out for a few weeks. Still too early to say whether that's going to be impacting his World Cup availability, but certainly not someone we can count on for probably 4 or 5 game weeks at the very least. Stones, I think, still out as well. That was a 10 to 14 day prognosis. That was last week, so that's only 7 days into that. And Calvin Phillips, I think, is in the same boat as Walker. Medium termish absentee because of surgery. So Walker being out, of course, would cement Cancelo's place if there was any doubt about that. There are alternatives. He can play a Kanji, I think, a right back, or is like a hybrid right back, third centre half, and of course he's got Gomez on the left. But it's only really good news for Cancelo that Walker being out.
Does Diaz start, Neil?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was him and Laporte in midweek in the Champions League, and last weekend it was a Kanji and Ake. Now, Ake could play at left back. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, and then Cancelo on the right. But Pep has said, and he said this as recently as last weekend, that he likes a right-footed, left-footed centre-half partnership. Now, right on the right, you've got Diaz and Akanji. On the left, you've got Laporte and Ake. So if we take Pep at his word, Diaz is competing with probably the most in-form Man City centre-half at the moment, which is Akanji. So not a guarantee. Do you still own him, by the way?
Yeah, have to get rid of him, I think.
We mentioned this last week, didn't we? That there wasn't yet a bedrock at centre-half where we can nail on every week. That might become apparent in the coming game weeks, but for now, it looks.
I thought he was cool. He was I wasn't expecting Akanji to come in and be so good straight away.
And then we've got Stones to come back in as well, probably next week. So it's just going to get worse.
Yep. It is good news for Foden and De Bruyne owners, though, because they had a full rest in the Champions League.
They did.
On Wednesday. Wednesday?
Yeah, and Haaland came off at half-time as well against Copenhagen. So that's...
Yep.
And Pep even said after the match because he wanted to preserve him for Southampton. So
there you go.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Nope. And how about Southampton? Any news from them?
This was yesterday, I think. Ralph, who we thought might be out of a job by now, but he's still there, clinging on. Livramento still out. Lavia still out. A couple of minor doubts over Juan Larios and Adam Armstrong, but minor injuries, and Ralph said that they're probably going to be fine. Same with a couple of players affected by illness. Didn't mention them, but they're back in training, so I think it's just Livramento and Lavia who are sidelined.
Yep, cool. Newcastle next. Your team, they're playing Brentford. What's the latest on Isak? I think he's probably the one that people care the most about.
He's still out. Yeah, he's making progress, which is what we heard last week. This is alarm bell slightly ringing if you're an Isaac winner, because I believe last Friday House said that he was already on the grass running, which sounded probably more promising than what it seemed like. He's still doing that. The medical team are holding him back from doing any further training work. He's just increasing his speed in terms of running. So definitely out this weekend. No guarantees that he'll be back for game week 11. And then the matches come thick and fast after that. So I think the original reportage, this was just an unofficial journalist's interpretation. It was going to be 3 weeks. Yeah, that is a word, by the way.
Okay.
It was going to be 3 weeks from the point of injury. So that was just a media speculation. That would take him up to around about game week 11 or 12. But still not in full training. How only saying hopefully it won't be too long.
It's a sell, isn't it? If you've got him.
Yeah, the scan wasn't too bad at least. So just being cautious with him at the moment. Shelby's ahead of schedule. He could be back soon. Kraft and Darlow still out. St Maxim's the other big one. He's been back in training, but still not given 100% clean bill of health by Howe today. He said he's doing okay. He's trained well this week. Again, making good progress. All the usual quotes that you hear from Howe. But he only said that there's a chance he could be in the squad tomorrow, so not a definite. And if he is in the squad, then I'm pretty confident he won't be starting.
Yep.
Just on the bench.
Yep. And opponents, Brentford. I think there's a huge amount to report here.
No, there's not. Jansen's definitely out. He came off with a hamstring injury last weekend, and he's out with this. Canis is fit. Pinnock's fit. Lacking match sharpness in both cases, I think. And it's just the other two, Norgard and Lewis Potter, who are still out, as was the case last week.
Yep, cool. My team next, Brighton. What a performance at Anfield last week under the new man, De Zerbi.
Yeah, exactly. He probably wants to impart some of his ideas, but what if it's not broke, then
no, absolutely,
then don't fix it in terms of formation and personnel. So I don't think there's much to report. Again, Moda and Mwepu are still out. Moises Caicedo's. He missed training on Thursday, but he's confident of him recovering in time for the weekend. So it could be the same again as last weekend.
We need him. We need him back. That will steal us up a little bit. And nothing from Spurs, right? Because coaching staff sadly passed away. Yeah,
good point. Yeah, I forgot about that. Conte was due to face the media yesterday, but yeah, as you said there, they lost a member of the staff, and quite suddenly. So we don't know the injury latest. Last I heard, let me just find the team news entry. Yeah, Kulusevski was obviously some major doubt, I think. Emerson Royale's banned. We know that much. He begins a 3-match ban. And Lucas Moura is definitely out as well. Going to be some time. Doherty perhaps coming in at right wing back. Either that or Perisic again, sorting sides. I think Spencer's still not trusted by Conte yet. But Emerson started in the Champions League on Tuesday because he's, of course, eligible for that. So Doherty is fresh. And so this could be the game where he comes back into the team.
It's interesting because Conte was critical of Doherty as well in the week, wasn't he? He said he wasn't.
He was, yeah. And that puts the element of doubt in my mind because before the international break, he said he'll go away with Ireland and he'll be ready after that to compete for a first team spot. But then he comes out with a quote like that where you're thinking twice about it. But I don't think he's going to play Perisic and Sessegnon every week over the next, 2 weeks in the Champions League and at home. So I'm sure Doherty will get some game time at some point.
Yep. We're halfway through, so just a shout to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop us a like as well. Give Neale a nice comment. That's how we pay him. We pay him in nice feedback rather than a salary. He just loves it. Just lives for it. So we'd really appreciate that. Also, Football Content Awards. Do consider giving Scout a vote for best editorial. You can do that. Go to footballcontentawards.com/voting, and you can see Fantasy Football Scouts are in there. The voting closes on Sunday, so do give us a vote if you enjoy all of Neale's brilliant and tireless work on the site.
Thank you.
You are more than welcome. Right, next. Quite a lot of investment going into Palace at the moment, given they've got an unbelievably good run of fixtures leading up to, I think end of December, something like that, or even beginning of January. And there's some positive news about our favourite player.
Nathan Ferguson, he's progressing and he's back on the grass. And of course, we've heard this umpteen times since he moved to Palace, but back in training today. Obviously not available this weekend or in contention, but I think he's been out for 2 months with a foot injury, and on the grass. So hopefully the start of a better time for him. Positive news with Anderson as well, who's key to their clean sheet credentials, I would say. He's trained in the last couple of days. He only missed out last weekend because of a minor calf problem. But Vieira said he was looking good for this Leeds game. Jack Butland's been back on the grass as well after a hand injury. Another goalkeeper they've got a number of them. So the only players who are out definitely think are MacArthur, who's got a groin injury, long-term groin injury, and Klein, who sustained an ankle injury last weekend. Not as serious as what they thought. No serious damage done, just a deep laceration, but out for a couple of weeks. So that's obviously Joel Ward at right back for now.
Yep. And how about Leeds?
Leeds, I've just heard from Marsh, and what did he have to say for himself? I don't think there's anything new to report really, apart from Leo Hjelde's backup left back. He's undergone an appendectomy, how you call it. He's out for a few weeks. Dallas is still out, probably till after the World Cup. Sinisterra's banned, of course. Yeah, I mean that's the major headline, I suppose. A one-match ban, so he'll be back in game week 11. And 4 shows out for a month as well with an ankle problem. So just sort of backup player news, injury news, and then Sinisterra suspended for 1 match.
Yep, great. West Ham next, much needed win for them last week, and the team everyone is talking about, and the player everyone's talking about. Let's get straight into it. What is going on with Mitrovic, Neil?
Well, I have at least heard a quote, and that was fairly recently, because these were on streamed live, these Fulham press conferences. We then rely on the press conferences dropping on YouTube or Twitter. And I've just seen Silva's exact quote. Now, I was both annoyed and elated by the reporter who was asking him questions, because he didn't seem to be listening to anything Silva was saying and kept asking him the same thing over and over again. But that did, in the event, or in the end of it, get more out of Silva. Like, he was bored into submission and eventually gave us more information. So, in a nutshell, he's still a doubt, which is not what you wanted. You either wanted to hear he's going to be definitely out or fit. But we did get a lengthy answer from Silva in the form of, separated by 5 questions, all about the same thing. So he's been outside doing some work this morning, individual work, which is not ideal because the match is when? Sunday, and it's been 5-6 days since the Newcastle game, and he's still doing individual work. So obviously not full team training yet. It's the same injury that he got with Serbia, so a kick in his foot. Ligament is what it's been. No, normally when you hear ligament, it's
really bad.
Red signs, but I think it's not serious according to Silva. Eventually, he said he can be ready for Sunday or he can be ready for next week. It's a day-to-day thing. They're going to have to decide and analyse him. Let's see if he can be ready for Sunday. But perhaps he said, if I'm saying he's doubtful for the game against West Ham, of course he's going to be ready for Bournemouth for sure, we hope. Put on a hope after for sure. So I wonder if he's maybe not going to risk him for this game and then keeps him fresh for Bournemouth, because we saw what happened last weekend when they rushed him back or played him when he wasn't fully fit against Newcastle, and he came off within 30-40 minutes. So my Silva sense is suspecting that he doesn't risk him for this one and then keeps him fresh for the more winnable... West Ham's not exactly a daunting place to go, but obviously Bournemouth at home is, a 6-pointer of sorts. Yeah. Even at this early stage of the season. So I would suspect that he's not going to risk him for this and then keeps him back for game week 11. But that's just my interpretation of it.
Don't buy, don't sell. I'm probably going to bench.
I would say so. Yeah, I think that's a perfect summary of the situation. I think you'd want him for. You wouldn't be expecting much. I think against West Ham anyway. Their defense is pretty good at the moment. Bournemouth's who you want him for, and hopefully he's back for that for owners. I think I'm the only one in the Great and the Good who doesn't own Mitrovic. It doesn't affect me, so I'm on easy street. But yeah, I would agree with your summary there. Don't buy, don't sell.
Yep. And how about West Ham?
West Ham, a lot more straightforward this one. Corney is out. It's just a matter of days though, with a calf injury he picked up last weekend. And otherwise, it's just the usual knocks and niggles from Moyes. Nothing serious reported from last night. Yeah. Don't think we saw anybody struggling last night. And Ben Johnson came back as well on Thursday. So I think it's just Corney and Aguerd who are out for the Hammers.
Excellent. Big game on Sunday. Arsenal versus Liverpool. Start with the home team they played last night. I don't think there's any updates, is there? There's no new
There's
injuries.
nothing from Arteta, no. So he said, again, straight bat, we're going to have more news tomorrow after the last training session, so nothing from him. Smith Rowe and El Neni, definitely out there, longer term ones. Cedric came back last night along with Nelson as well. So just those two red flags. However, there was an absentee last night from the squad. All the seniors were present, even if they were on the bench. Zinchenko, it's an ongoing thing with him. He wasn't part of that matchday squad. And then Charles Watts reported that he'd missed training earlier in the week as well. So if you add everything up, and the fact that Tierney was taken off early last week, perhaps being preserved for Sunday, then maybe Zinchenko's a doubt. We haven't heard from Arsenal yet for sure. But adding everything up with the no-show in training, the no-show last night in the Europa League, and Tierney's 70th minute withdrawal in Europe, then I wonder if Zinchenko is a doubt for the Liverpool game, and Tierney's going to play at left back. Apart from that, we're not aware of anything serious.
Yep. And how about he said Neale? How about Liverpool? I was looking at your name for some reason.
Yes, quite a lot to report. Robertson's close to a return, but still going to be short for this one, by the sounds of it. Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain are even behind him. Curtis Jones, I think, is the closest one to a recovery. He's joined training on Thursday. Arthur is the latest addition to the injury list. He's out with a muscle problem. They're going to keep assessing him, but he's definitely going to be out of this one. So that's the injury news summarised. I think there was another line, obviously, concerned the formation. So we saw it was a 4-4-2 kind of against Rangers on Tuesday. 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, depending on how you looked at it. And that got a lot of people excited about the potential for that being used in the Premier League with a two-man front line and Salah and Diaz on the flanks. But I do think that might have been horses for courses. Klopp said this afternoon that he wanted Liverpool to become unpredictable again. He needed different systems. Didn't want teams to just be able to second guess how he's going to play. So I wonder whether he'd be back in a 4-3-3 for this, because the 4-4-2 is quite gung ho against Arsenal, a team like Arsenal. We did see it once against City. I think he played it 4-4-2 against City a few years back. But
got them all in, didn't they? Yeah, Jota, Firmino, Salah, and Mane. I remember it.
He's got the option to do it now. He's got all 5 frontline players back, as well as people like Carvalho. So he could do it if in games or during games. But I wonder if he's going to be back with a 4-3-3 for this one, just for this magnitude of the fixture.
Yep. Excellent. 2 more to go. Everton versus Manchester United. Next, are we ever going to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
We might see him this weekend. Not from the start, I don't think. He's in contention according to Lampard. Injury-free, but match fitness obviously still an issue. They've got a few more players coming back as well. Holgate and Mina in training this weekend, probably looking too soon for those two, but they're now on the grass. So that just leaves Patterson, Townsend and Godfrey on the sidelines.
Excellent. And how about United?
So this was a press conference staged last night by Ten Hag, and it was held over till today, the embargoed section. Injury-wise, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Van der Beek still out. Varane, he's hopeful of a recovery, but still a doubt. It's going to be close, according to Ten Hag. A quote on Martial as well, who's really catching the eye, and I think about to go on the FPL watch list. 3 goals and 2 off the bench. He did say that he wants to be really careful with him because he has re-injured himself, I think, a couple of times already this season. And they've got a plan with how they're going to handle him. So maybe he isn't quite ready for a start, although he's certainly getting closer. And definitely one for the medium term FPL watch list, because he's fallen in price, and he looks like he will be a starter once he's back to full fitness.
I think if Mitrovic had been out for a bit longer, people would have been really looking at that move.
Yep. Too much of a concern, I think, for now.
Yeah. Cool. And then the final match is a big game on Monday. Look at that. I've got the team news from Forest. It isn't really team news at all. It's manager news. He's only gone and signed a new contract. It's unbelievable.
He has. Yeah. Yesterday he was on the cusp of being sacked, and now they've offered him a new 2-year deal, or 3-year deal. So he's signed on the dotted line, maybe to stave off into some other clubs as well. Now I haven't actually seen any press conference from Cooper yet.
No,
I might have missed it, but he certainly hadn't dropped by the time I came online. So I'm just going off what reported on Nottingham Post in terms of the latest injury roundup, and I don't think there's anything new on that. So Nia Carty, I think, was not far for a return. He'd gone away with Senegal, but didn't play. Omar Richards, I think, still out as well. I think that's it on the injury front for Forest. But of course, even if we knew the injury news, we wouldn't know who he's going to send out on Monday night, because he's been experimenting with not just personnel but shape as well. I think it was a back four on Monday, which didn't go too well against Leicester. So plenty of rotation risk with a number of players, I think, in that team, including maybe Nico Williams now, unfortunately, because he was subbed off at half time against Leicester, and Aurier came on. I mean, I still think he's got the upper hand for now. He's the long-term investment from Forest, and Aurier is just a cover, brought in as cover. But you do not want that continuing, the goal concessions and the early substitutions, because a lot of people might need him for blank game week 12, if not before then. So, a bit of a concern, I think, Williams' situation.
Mark was impressed by Aurier, so he thinks he's good.
Yeah, I did read Mark's sort of write about that and or comments on that. And I did see a couple of other Forest fans saying the same thing. So that is, it's not great. But, I mean, Forest were 3-0 down, and Leicester did have the foot off the gas, I think, in the second half. Easier to sort of to shine in that situation than it is when you're at the start of a game. Yep. It remains to be seen what he does on Monday.
Yep. And then the final team is their opponents, Aston Villa. Would you call Leon Bailey a popular FPL asset? Maybe.
Semi-popular. I think he's dropped in price to the point where he's been he's a bench fodder option now. Is he 4.7, something like that?
Yeah.
He's a doubt for this one. He's not completely ruled out, but he's got a muscle problem around the knee. So he's a concern. I think he might have lost his place anyway, because he hasn't really impressed in the last two starts. So Wendy or Ings comes in for him, depending on the formation. Matty Cash is available. He's back again. That's good news. Chambers has got a decent chance as well of recovering from another appendectomy. That's another one. We've the second one today. And bad news at left back though, because Ludwig Augustinsson's out for 3 weeks, and Digne's out sort of at least 2 or 3 weeks, and then possibly after the World Cup as well. They're going to reassess him after a fortnight. If his heel hasn't healed, then he is going to be out until after the World Cup. So problems at left back. Ashley Young will probably play there now. Apart from that, Kamara and Carlos are the long-term ones.
Excellent. Neil, that's it. It's all the teams.
It is, teams. Yeah.
Done. Beautiful stuff as always. As I mentioned, I have dropped some links in the chat. One is for, if you just click the bit.ly link, it will take you straight to Twitter, hit the tweet button, and that will basically give us a vote in the Football Content Awards. Or there's another link which takes you to the voting page, footballcontentawards.com/voting. If you want to vote for Scout in Best Editorial for Fantasy Football, we'd really appreciate all of that. Neil, thank you as always. I will see you again next week.
My absolute pleasure, yeah. Maybe a bit earlier next week, I think. Is it a Friday deadline?
Oh, it is.
It might be.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 3 game week after that, so you'll see plenty of my ugly face over the next fortnight.
Wonderful. Can't wait. See you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.